one bag, their daily bread. How many loaves is that? 4, 8, 9 loaves. How long will that last them? Isn't it a mess? But it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. The stores, doing errands is, boy, it's hard work. It uses up a lot of your energies. It uses up a lot of your enemies. It was a blue jay. I think I got the adjustment wrong. These colors are not right. Oh, I gotta adjust this camera. I gotta read that book. It's 180 pages. So it uses up a lot of energy, but you gotta remember what a privilege it is. You go into stores and all these products cater to you. And you can buy anything you want. I've got to sit down and fix this camera. More chaos. Look at this for in-mail. That's the in-mail of January 20th, yesterday. Look at it, piles and piles of it. And the in-mail of January the 4th hasn't been done, except that letter to Ethan Book, praising him for his whistleblowing and writing President Bush that Lieberman should not be appointed, what was it, administrator of security. That whole security stuff is nothing but dictatorship, an oligarchy, and a ruinization of America, a republic. It's nothing but an evil devised by the devil to turn this country into a police state. This is the most convenient place for unloading your groceries. Look, what is it, 10 steps? And other places it was up 12 stairs. See the blue sky, if you can. Let me adjust this camera. Now thank we all our God with hearts and minds and voices, who wondrous things have done, in which this world rejoices, who from our mother's arms have led us on our way, with countless gifts of love, and still are ours today. And from the mother's arms, I thought about that and thought about that when I met Christina Loken. She was in that movie, and she's a famous movie star. And folks, she is so beautiful. Oh, she is so pretty and so tall. I think I just found out what's wrong with the camera. It was on nightlight. Oh, she's so beautiful. And she's very, very nice. I met her and Randy Loken at the Stottville post office. And Sandy, the postmistress, told me how she knew Christina from the time she was a couple of feet high. Okay, there's that beautiful day. A man called up the airlines and he said, I'd like to make a reservation from San Diego to Mishawaka, Indiana. And the clerk said, how do you spell Mishawaka? The man said, never mind. South Bend is close enough. Why didn't you come to school yesterday? My mother took me to the cemetery. Oh, I'm sorry, the teacher said. Somebody dead? And the kid says, yeah, they all were. What did the judge say to the dentist? Do you swear to pull a tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth? Pray for Cablevision. Pray for John Tata. Charles Dolan. James Dolan. Mac Budill. They're out to ruin public access. They're out to hurt it again. The public's access to TV is being devoured by a bunch of gangsters. Cablevision Systems Corporation, Mac Budill, Thomas Gardner, Miles Rich, John Shirley, Christine Savarino, Cecilia. Pray for them all, that they be happy, whole, and healthy, and all the present blessings continue. Remember, when you pray for a new blessing, guard your old blessings. You could lose an old blessing for a new blessing. So here it is, January 21st, 2005, Anno Domini. Look at the ability of this camera to focus. It's a whole much nicer to focus when it isn't on super night life. So we have to add this to the contents. And a man went up to see his friend in the country, and his friend says, don't go into that woods. Okay, there's a 20-foot snake in there. And his city friend says, oh, come on. Snakes don't have feet. Eye doctor, can you read the bottom line? Nope. Can you read the line above that? Nope. Can you read a line above that? Nope. Well, can you read the line above that? Nope. What's the matter? Can't you see anything? Oh, it isn't that. I just can't read. And when Notre Dame went co-ed, the headline in the college newspaper was, it's official, men. Notre goes Dame. And in the Navy, the chief surgeon, one of the sailors put up a sign that said, Wizard of Gauze. You remember back in the old days it was I-O-U? And now it's I-O everybody? A woman answered an ad in the church newsletter. Said, I'm answering your ad for an organist and a choir master, lady or gentleman. I've been both for a number of years. You know, one thing's good about you don't have to pay your income tax. So that's the first 20. That's good enough. State withholding will not change. Office supplies will change. To be continued. What's this, folks? What is this? Tell me what it is. Is it a moonset? Is it a moonrise? It's a moonset. It's no fair, you looked at the clock. But if you didn't see the clock, could you tell whether that was a moonrise or a moonset? Must be clear, huh? I think it's clear. Rejoice for the rest. Rejoice for the morning light. Rejoice for the moon. Isn't that great? The moon at one end of the arc, and watch. We'll go around to the east, and we'll see the sun at the other end of the arc. Now, is this not a $1 trillion universe? We pay for the bad, and we pass up the good, which is free. This is free. They're not going to grow bananas anymore. Really? Why? They're not going to grow bananas any longer. Why is that? They're long enough now.
This is episode number 4000 of A Chat with Glendora. The show will feature some great old clips from the past, as well as some new behind-the-scenes footage. Plus, we'll find out some things about Glendora that you might not already know. Stay tuned.
Hi there, everybody. This is Glendora, A Chat with Glendora. And Andrew Hersman is helping me celebrate my 4,000th TV show on public access, a half an hour each. It started in 1972 in Lackawanna, New York, which is a town south of Buffalo. And it's gone all the way up until now, 2004. And when I say 4,000 shows, that would be, it started out, of course, not one a week, but it's one a week now and more, and today I'm already on the 8th one this week. And last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, I did 9 editions, and a month ago I did 19, or was it 18? 18 and a half hours. That's how much information there is to get out to you, the public. Harold said to Bob, "I'm worried about my 4th daughter getting married." And Bob said, "Why?" And Harold says, "Well, on account of my 1st daughter married a man from Singleton, New Hampshire, and they had 1 child. And my 2nd daughter married a man from Twin Oaks, New Hampshire, and they had 2 children. And my 3rd daughter married a man from Three Rivers, Michigan, and they had 3 children." And Bob says, "So why are you worried about your 4th daughter?" And Harry says, "She's going with a man from the Thousand Islands." Now, it starts with this. I go here and buy these tapes, folks, for, just a second, I had to move them on account of the new computer moved in. I have to buy these tapes. First of all, you might like to see the ones that are done. These are the ones that have been done today. There's 5 copies of each edition, and as I say, that's 8 programs, and that's 8 editions, so that's 40 tapes that have been done, plus Cross River is the only TV system I'm on that has a chat with Glendora for 2 hours. Isn't it amazing what the public will stand? And so they get 2 Cross Rivers. They get Cross River 1 and Cross River 2, because I do this only every 2 weeks. Now, so I go over here, folks, I go to Walmart, and I buy packages of 10 tapes, and they're $8 and something, so that when I buy 4, it's approximately $39. I can buy 4 VHS all 2 hours. And then I have to go over here, and I have to put on these labels on each one. I was telling Richard, see, I start this at 5:30 every other Saturday. If I don't start it at 5:30, I don't get it done. So I started at 5:30 and get it rolling before something happens. You know what the man down Maine said? He liked to get up at 5:30, and he was asked why, and he says, "Because I want to breathe the air before anybody else does." Now, so I label it there, and I labeled that upside down. That's good. And then this one on the back. All right. Now, see, this is the wiring I was telling you about. It comes through the 8mm.
Oops.
Let me get this. Okay, let me get the 8mm for you. This is a Sony. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful companion. True friend. Trustworthy. And it comes out of the Sony, and it goes into this first one, which is a Sanyo VCR. You can see the yellow. And then it loops from the Sanyo up to an Emerson, up to another Emerson, up to a second Sanyo, up to the Sony. And you got to give Sony credit. I don't like them because they've taken away the market so many times, but you got to give them credit. They make good products. Then to the 6 VCR, an Emerson, another Emerson, another Emerson, and another Emerson. And then the opening is played down here, folks. Right here. Oh, we might as well do that. This is just a demo now. This is not going to fly on the TV. Okay, we'll put, this is the one we're recording onto. Okay, and here's the opening. Now I have to cue it up every time. You know, the most important interview I probably ever had was Robert C. Wright, and I pushed all the wrong buttons. Robert C. Wright, who's the chairman and chief executive officer of NBC Television, or NBC Network. And wouldn't you know, and I spelled my name wrong, but that's the way it always goes. All right, this is the opening. So now we will play it, and then you stand by to record over here. You want to see that button? This button right here. It's what you call a hard edit. You just press a button. That's a hard edit.
have some things here to tell you that was sort of amusing. My husband sings in the choir, and the director of the choir works for the state, and the state gave everybody a bonus. They gave him 2 days off. And so the soprano said, gee, you're wonderful, you know. He said, under what sign were you born? And the alto said, under the dollar sign.
In 1987, I got a call from the David Letterman show, and they'd heard about a chat with Glendora on cable TV, and they invited me to be a guest on it. And so the negotiations went on, and finally it happened, and it was in September, I believe, of 1987.
It's Late Night with David Letterman. Tonight, Susan St. James, cable talk show host Glendora. And
I went, and Rob Reiner was there. He was one of the guests. And another woman was there, and she talked so much and so long that poor David didn't have time for a chat with Glendora.
Glendora, who was supposed to be here tonight, will not be here tonight. She'll be here tomorrow night.
And so the next night I went, and Franklin, my husband, went with me, and he thought that David Letterman was very funny, and probably the best audience David Letterman ever had. And so we sat in the green room, and they caked makeup on me, which was just horrible. And then I went on the show.
Right, now, let's just bring out Glendora, shall we? Okay. My next guest believes in using television to spread her own special brand of happiness. She has made over 100 commercials. We have an example of one right here.
Hey, folks. How are you today? Just miserable, right? This is Glendora for delicious Worthington Vegelinks. Vegelinks by Worthington, folks, have no cholesterol. Delicious Vegelinks have fewer calories than regular hot dogs, and Vegelinks have no preservatives. I have no preservatives either. You see the wrinkles? Get your delicious Vegelinks at the Glendora Health Nook at...
No need to shop everywhere. Go straight to Twin Fair.
And her show, A Chat with Glendora, has featured guests like Robert C. Wright, the president of NBC. Folks, please welcome the happiness lady, Glendora. Hi, Glendora. How are you? Pleasure to see you. Please have a seat. Where are you from, Glendora? Where does this show take place? Where can people see this?
Oh, the Chat with Glendora?
Yeah.
You can see this on Manhattan Cable TV and Paragon Cable TV, and you can also see it in Westchester, where all the rich people live, United Artists Cable.
And from where does it originate?
Well, of course, we originated at Mr. Wright's office and at Madeline Smithberg's dressing room and at Mr. and the chairman of General Foods and the chairman of Nestle's. We originated in people's offices. Some people come to our home, David.
I see.
The chairman of Colgate-Palmolive Pete came to our home.
How do you get all of these people
at
on
7 a.m.
Yeah. And I guess you were steamed, huh, that he was there so early?
Well, the thing that interested me about him, David, was that he did his own marketing research, and he went through all of our cupboards to see if we had any Colgate-Palmolive products.
And what did the research turn up?
Zero.
Zero.
He didn't look under the sink cupboard where he would have found something. He didn't go into the bathroom cupboard. He really would have found something.
Now, tell me about the show. What is the format? When somebody tunes in, what do they see?
They see where were you born, where'd you go to school, what were your jobs, what is your present work like, and what advice would you give a youngster to get started on such a career today?
So it's an interview show primarily?
Yes, that's what we asked Mr. Wright.
Yeah, a half-hour show, is it?
Yes, isn't it amazing what the public will stand?
And is it on once a week?
Yeah, oh yes.
And how many years have you been on the air?
Well, I've been on television 35 years, but that show's been on the air a year and 3/4.
Are you hoping that this particular show will maybe grow, perhaps expand, maybe get to a network status or a local TV station or something?
Well, I sort of doubt that.
You don't think that'll happen? Well, you sure have the wardrobe for it, you know. Now let's take a look. Show me some of the footage. This is Robert Wright, the president now
Lord, yeah.
of NBC. You know, how did you get this guy to be on the show? Because we've asked him for years and years.
Have you?
Now. Oh yeah, and he won't come on the show. How did you get him?
It must be my good looks, huh?
Yeah.
Except I did talk to him over the phone, so that wouldn't have helped. No, I figure this way, David. He's a nice man, and he does want to help the youth. And that's what this is all about.
He wants to help the youth.
Yeah, that's what this problem...
Have we heard anything about that? He wants to help the youth? Well, Al, did you hear anything about Robert Wright wanting to help the youth of this country?
Robert C. Wright?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to help the youth.
I think he just... I think he's just looking to balloon the stock prices. I think that's about all we're into here.
No, he's a very nice
Very nice man. All right, now let's take a look at a couple of seconds from his interview on your show, okay? We have that here? Yeah. Robert C. Wright and Glendora, helping the youth. It is a chat with Glendora.
And then we got General Electric acquired RCA. And then I came over from General Electric to become the president of NBC. And that's how I got here.
Oh, it's such an interesting career. And that's how you ended up in Fairfield, because I think General Electric's table was centered in Fairfield, wasn't it?
Yes, I actually never worked in Fairfield.
Oh, you never did?
No, I've worked, most recently my office was in Stamford, Connecticut before I came here.
Oh.
Although I live in that area, but I didn't work there.
I see, yeah. This is Mr. Robert C. Wright, who is the president and chief executive officer of NBC. And he'll be back in just a second and tell you what his work is like, to see if you'd like to aim for that as a career. And then he'll also give you some ideas how to get started in broadcasting in today's world.
Yeah. It seems like you and he were dressed alike, didn't he? You sort of have the same kind of look there. Now, I don't want to linger on this, but how did General Electric's acquisition of RCA, how did that ultimately help the youth of this country?
What helped the youth was Mr. Wright telling how he got started, because he was at the same point. Yeah, he was at the same point in his development as the youth who watch the program we hope are in theirs.
I see. Now tell me about your personal recipe for happiness. You're known as the happiness lady.
Well,
is that what they say?
No.
What do they call you?
Glendora.
Yeah.
And what did you say your name was?
I'm Dave. That'll be my last night.
You are a very good interviewer.
Well, thank you.
And I'm going to recommend you for a raise.
Thank you.
The recipe for happiness, David, is that there's one thing in this world that you can do better than anybody else. And if you will go by yourself, you will find out what that is. And you will do it, and you'll be happy. Now, if you don't do it, David, it's going to nag at you every second of your life.
So you find out what it is that you're good at.
No, the one thing that you can do better than anybody else.
The one thing you can do better than anyone else, and you just concentrate on that.
Yes, you do.
And then that'll make you happy.
Well, sure, because you'll get everything you want.
Yeah. And the Vegilinks, vegetable protein, no meat at all in here, right?
No meat.
Oh, all right. Well, geez, Glendora, good luck with the show.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I hope you can come back and see us again sometime.
Oh, we'd like to very much. Would that take 2 days or just one the next time?
I don't know. Oh, that's right. You were supposed to be here last night. Okay. We have to go here now. We have other guests. But thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Down here, for instance, are Franklin's newspaper clippings. He was a newspaper reporter for 27 years, and he cut out every article that he wrote. And he pasted them all in 3-ring binders. And so that archive is preserved. And then over here are recent legal papers within the past year. These, if you can see, it says legal papers here, there, and right here. Where does it say legal papers? There, legal papers. Okay. And then there are, the clothes are over here, the winter clothes. There's one that says bedding. CDs, music CDs that Franklin used to listen to. Think drawer. And over, we'll just go straight down what we call, see, this is a trailer, so let's see, this is the trailer goes this way, so this is the starboard side and this is the port. They have to use Long Island terms, for Andrew came all the way up from Long Island. 1980 Lincoln shop manuals. So you go down the starboard side. These are commercials that were sent to CNN in Atlanta. This is Glendora's mother and father, Franklin as a youth. Now we're over on the port side. This is a Cablevision. This certifies that Glendora is hereby awarded the certificate of completion for having successfully completed the Cablevision access training workshop on this date, 18th day of August, 2000. That's all wrong. I completed it in 1983. This is Glendora at a CBS party in this posh place in Manhattan. Now over here is quite important. This is a very comfortable desk, and here is the index to the museum by column. Column 1, box 1-1, box 1-2, box 1-3, box 1-4. And it goes all the way up to, there's 30, something like 30 columns, I think. And each column has about 6 drawers, 6 boxes. This is the last smile of Franklin. Our friend took him for a ride in his flashy red convertible. Isn't that sweet?
Wow.
And he had a baseball cap that said baseball fan on it. Oh, here's Franklin and Bob Hope. That's kind of nice.
Oh, yeah.
Here is a chat with, no, this is, my first TV show was Glendora and Her Picture Party. It was a kid show because I wanted to start out small. And this is, the next one was the SS Glendora. It was a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the skipper, and the kids were the sailors, and I said SS stood for steamship, and they said, no, it stands for stupid show.
In '76, the International Convention will be over in England.
It will?
And we're hoping that we get the opportunity to go.
On the 200th anniversary of the freedom of the United States, they're going to have their anniversary in England?
We'll have to see about that.
Well, boys and girls, it's a great privilege tonight to bring to you Mr. Charles Dolan. And he's one of the pioneers of cable. Charles, just tell us, first of all, where were you born?
Cleveland, Ohio.
You were, really?
Right.
I didn't know that you were born in the Midwest. And then you grew up where? There?
In Cleveland, stayed in Cleveland until 1952.
52?
Right, then moved to New York.
And moved to New York.
Right.
And where'd you go to school, Charles?
In Cleveland at Cleveland Heights High School and John Carroll University.
Did you really?
Right.
Bob Hope comes from Cleveland.
Yeah, yes, he does. I know that. He was born in London, but the family is from Cleveland, right?
For sure. And after that, what was your first job out of school?
I was given a job on one of the local newspapers, the Cleveland Press.
Oh, you were?
Right. So I was paid $2 a week to write a column about the activities of the Boy Scouts. Right.
Well, that's all right. That's a good way to start out. And then your next job?
Then I worked for a radio station in Cleveland.
And doing what?
Also writing commercials and producing programs.
Yeah,
right.
that was fun.
It was indeed. I enjoyed it.
Was this right out of high school? Or?
Well, actually, while I was going to high school.
While you were going to high school?
Right, I'd go to school in the morning and then take the bus downtown to the radio station.
Well, I think that's terrific. It was an early start. And then what did you do after that next job?
Well, we started a little newsreel about sports. This is when television itself was beginning in 1950.
That's right.
And we sold that to television stations around the country, but we didn't do it too well, I guess, because we ran out of money.
The church had a Bible selling contest, and Edward sold more Bibles than anybody else, and Edward stuttered. So they wanted to know how he did it. And this is how he did it. He would say to a person, do you want to buy a Bible, or do you want me to read it to you?
And this fella, he loved to get out into the sun, and he'd put on suntan lotion, every day. So this day he went out and he didn't have any suntan lotion at all, and he went out in the sun and he used Crisco oil, instead of suntan lotion, and he got a beautiful tan. It was just beautiful. So ever since, my mother called him the Crisco Kid. We're on 6th Avenue now, and we're at HBO, and this is Mr. Jeff Bucas, and he's the Chief Financial Officer. Jeff, where were you born?
In Patterson, New Jersey.
Oh, you were really?
Yes.
I like Patterson on Route 46, right?
That's right.
And then you went to school where?
Went to school in every public school in New Jersey, and finally clawed my way out here to New York, where I've landed at HBO.
And did you go to college, Jeff?
Yes, I did. I went to Yale.
Oh, hooray!
Yes.
Eli, bow, wow,
wow.
I was down in Boston, folks, and I wanted to go from Boston to
Newton, I think it was. And I had to go by taxi cab. And my goodness, we got out there, we were looking for Channel 5, the new Channel 5, and this taxi cab driver, he's driving us all around, and he didn't know where it was. And I was getting panic-struck because the meter was up to $8. And, you know, I think if you don't know where it is and you're a taxi cab driver, you stop, you know, and you stop the meter. And then you find it, you know. I don't think you should charge the person. I tried to tell him that, but he wouldn't listen. And I says, well, then will you please take me to downtown Newton where I can find a local cab and get out to Channel 5? And he says, all right, I'll do that. But he didn't even know where the local cab was. So we're driving down this main street in Newton, and I looked over there and I says, there's a local cab. Take me over there. And this car pulled up alongside of me, and oh, before I saw it, that was it, folks, before I saw where the local cab was, this car had pulled up side of us at a light, and I desperately rolled down the window, and I hollered out the window to the driver in the next car, and I says, can you please tell me where I can get a cab? And of course he began to laugh, because there I was sitting in a cab, you know. The taxi cab pulled up to the curb, and the woman got out. And she says to the cabbie, how much do I owe you? And the cabbie says, nothing, ma'am, you did all the driving. Here's hats. Everybody wants to know where you keep your hat.
Oh, look at that. Purple one?
Yeah. And here's a nice St. Patrick's Day one.
That's fantastic.
Oh, there's lots of
the hat collection.
Ah! Oh, thank heaven.
How convenient is that?
Yeah, here you are, hon. There's a good look at them. That's a bunch of archives.
Wow.
Well, let's pull one of them and see what date we're talking about here. This would be...
Oops, upside down. There we go.
Well, it's better that way.
2/1/95.
95?
Yeah, 1995.
February 1995. 4 programs on the tape. And I didn't want to throw anything away because, for sure, the first thing you throw away, you're going to want it the next week.
Of course.
And so I didn't want to throw away. And I saw a trailer, tractor trailer going down the street, and I said, that's what we need, something that big. Okay, yes, that would definitely do it. That would hold everything. Nothing would have to be thrown away. So the problem was, well, where are you going to find one? Guess what? You open the yellow pages, storage trailers for rent, storage office trailers for rent. And so that made it very easy, and I called up, and they were renting them for about $85 a month. And then the next problem is, where do you find the land to put it on? And so I put up a little flyer, and I said that Glendora would like to have land to put her storage trailer on. Mm-hmm. And I put up here and there, and a nice man called up, and he thought he was just a person, but he had a few complicating problems with the land that he owned as far as the town was concerned. But he put me in touch with this fellow here, and you can see the expanse of this man's property. And he called me up right away, and he said, I'll rent your place for $75. This man is a multi-millionaire. His name is Bob Cohen, and he is a multi-millionaire. And he owns Amanda's Fireplace. Mm-hmm. And it amused me when I called him up in the wintertime that he had gone to Florida for the winter. And I said, Bob Cohen has 150 fireplaces and he goes to Florida to get warm? And so he rented it to me for $75. And then I said, Bob, do you think I should own the storage trailer, or do you think I should rent it? He said, definitely own it. I said, where do you buy one? He says, here, take this magazine. He made me all kinds of copies of the ads. He says, call up these ads. Well, the man I liked the best was in Rhode Island because he was working on a Saturday. Uh-huh. His name is Tony Pier Pauli. Pieter Pauli. That is Peter Paul in Italian.
Right.
And I was very impressed for him. And he wanted to come up the next day. $1,600 is what he wanted for it. Mm-hmm. Well, that was the answer.
There you go.
And he came and he placed it.
Amazing.
And I've talked to him since. I've talked to him about the problem, how do you hang things on aluminum and things like that. Mm-hmm. But that's how it evolved, and I think that's kind of interesting. And
oh, yeah.
I left out one step. I found somebody with a shed that
the previous owner of her house had made, and it was exceptional shed. It was better than ones you would buy. And so that was the first museum. That was the little museum. And we carried over the heavy stuff. But on November 4th, Election Day, by the way, the trailer arrived about October 16th of the year 2003. But on Election Day, sweet man named Joseph, it's a nice Italian name, Salamone. On Election Day, he came up and he brought all of the stuff from, he was Debbie's boyfriend, but I rented it from him. He brought up all of the stuff in his van.
Wow.
And he placed it all on November 4th, and he built those steps.
Really?
I didn't have any steps, and he just picked up cinder blocks that were lying around his property. Now I have a problem with this, but if I turn this perpendicular, this was sort of funny. This is for the ladies. You know, I live in Buffalo, and they pick up the rubbish on Friday. And I had the rubbish all ready, you know, up in the kitchen, you know, ready to go down. I had it all in these great big green plastic bags, you know, ready to go. And they came early. The rubbish men came early, and I ran to my husband. I says, quick, quick. I says, the rubbish men are coming. And so we went out of the house, you know, with all this rubbish, and we got it out on the street. And the men came in the truck, and they, gee, the kitchen looked wonderful, you know. And then I knew there was something wrong. I had the laundry in one of those green bags. Nancy Nevins, now if anybody wants to join Sweet Adelines, and I should think every woman would, just come down to the Methodist Church in South Glens Falls.
That's right on Main Street here. Every Wednesday night at 7:30 we meet. And we welcome anybody from any place. If they live in any areas where we are, we would be very glad to pick them up.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we have a couple in Los Angeles, California.
None of us come from Los Angeles, do we?
No, folks, it's very easy to find. You go to the junction of routes 9 and 22, and it's 1 block from there, isn't it? Just about.
Just about, yeah. Yes.
At the Methodist Church in South Glens Falls. Well, it's really great. Now, I think you wanted to tell us that, what was it, the important point you wanted to make?
Well, I think that lots of people think the barbershop harmony is confined to certain songs, which now, I guess at one time maybe it was. But nowadays, we have many fine arrangers. And in our cause, we have an up-and-coming arranger, Judy Dwyer. Judy is right. Oh!
from Scotland to proclaim this. I will walk 5,000 miles.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you. And if I haver, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering to you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm walking, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you. And when the money comes in for the work I do, I'll pass almost every penny on to you. When I come home, oh, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home to you. And if I drove, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's going over you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm lonely, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's lonely without you. And when I'm dreaming, well, I know I'm gonna dream about the time when I'm with you. When I go out, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And when I come home, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home with you. I'm gonna be the man who's coming home with you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door.
Now let's...
They're not going to grow bananas anymore. Really? Why? They're not going to grow bananas any longer. Why is that? They're long enough now. You see that man over there? Yeah. I owe to him more than anybody else in the world. Really? Who is he? My landlord. Billy took out a new girlfriend. He was trying to impress her. She says, "What business is your father in?" "An exporter." And Billy's friend says, "Told the truth." He says, "Yeah, he used to work for Amtrak." "Why did we get that flat tire?" Mother said to Father. And baby boy said, "Back there was a fork in the road." This very stuffy man was walking around an art exhibit. And he stood before one object, and he said, I suppose this hideous monstrosity is what you call modern art? And his friend says, no, you call it a mirror. Anthony took up painting professionally. Have you sold anything? Yes. My TV set, my car, and my watch. The steward of the ship was trying to assuage the passenger who was scared. He says, I know we're surrounded by water. He said, but we're only 2 miles from land. Oh, that's good. 2 miles from land. That's right, straight down. You remind me of Dan Smith. I'm not a thing like Dan Smith. Yes, you are. You both owe me $10. Young man, you're so polite. What makes you so polite? It was my father. When I was a little boy, every time I was polite, he would give me a penny, and he would pat me on the head. So when I was 16 years old, I had $17 and a flat head. Customer, can I try on that navy blue suit in the window? Clerk, no, you'll have to use the dressing room. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. 1 minute of goodwill, good cheer, and good humor brought to you by And here's Mr. Sun at the other end of the arc. And it's all free. You don't have to pay for it. And here's Miss Kitty waiting for her morning wham. And the birdies have arrived. We gave them a third of a can of peanuts. That's for the squirrels. It's much warmer. Teach us the patience close with thee, in dearer closer harmony, in work that keeps faith sweet and strong, in trust that triumphs over wrong. This is show number 3,999. Next one up is the 4,000th show, already produced by Andrew Hersman. Andrew Hersman. The special, Glendora on the David Letterman Show, Glendora telling jokes to live audiences, and Glendora interviewed Charles Dolan in 1987. Number 4,000 show. Number 4,000 public access show. When did it start? In 1972 in Lackawanna, New York, outside of Buffalo, on a cable company owned by some ruthless jewelers. but instantly bought by Peter Gilbert as international cable, and then sold to Philadelphia, and now being sold to who knows. It's such good news, but it's old news, and it's repeated news, that Cablevision wants to sell its cable TV systems. Well, don't you think that Glendora doesn't want Cablevision to sell them? Get the Dolans out of public access. Get John Tata out of public access. It was in the New York Times way back in the year 2002 when the crash came, when the Dolans made public notice of their failure to operate a cable system or a cable corporation, and the stock went down to $4, and they fired 800 people in Long Island and I believe 1,200 in Westchester. And they still don't know how to run a cable TV corporation. And it's John Tata with his ruthless hoop jumping and harassment and his gangster type operations. Now he's gone gangster even further. He's going to have a lottery. You cannot have a lottery. It has to be a contest of skill, of talent. When we went out there and stood out there all night long to sign up our programs, to get our renewals in, then there was an element of skill, an element of talent, and an element of effort. That made it a real contest. But when you take that all away and make it a game of chance, you violate the law in the state of New York. No lotteries. No lottery. A morning moon. Rejoice for the night. Rejoice for the rest. Rejoice for the pleasant morning light. So the moon will go down and be at one end of the arc, and on the other end of the arc the sun will rise. And it's free. It's free. What do we often say? We spend money on the bad stuff and pass up the good stuff, which is free. I think the moon is full today, tonight. And what are you going to do today? You have another day. You have another day. First thing I'm going to do is to feed the birdies. We had 4, maybe 5 or 6 huge crows
in the driveway yesterday. I fed them a whole loaf of bread. Isn't that nice? They were so happy. The man went into the haberdashery store and he said, "May I please try on that navy blue suit in the window?" And the clerk says, "No, you'll have to use the dressing room." At midnight, it was about 1 degree below. So let me turn off all of the, heaters, because they make a lot of noise, but they give you a lot of comfort. Now, I'm sorry that about the titler. It just wouldn't store anything. You spend a long time putting up all these names on the screen, and then the next thing you know, they're gone. I don't know what's got into it. So I put them up while the program is going on. I can't put them up ahead because it won't save them. That titler, the directions are written in Japanese or Chinese or Korean or whatever. And it just doesn't do what you ask it to do. You know, it's like being married. Now, some nice things to tell you about. There's this Mid-Hudson Vegetarian Society, and they think that your health, it depends upon how you eat. And so they're having these health lessons. And let me tell you about them. And don't get the jitters, Cablevision. This is non-profit. You can't call them up and make them buy an ad. But they're the ones who had the vegetarian brunch. Vegan. It was vegan, actually. On New Year's Day, you remember? I took you over to that. Here's the dates. It's in Poughkeepsie at the Beulah Baptist Church. Catherine Street, Poughkeepsie. Thursdays, 6:30 to 8. And these are the dates. Roberta Schiff, you can call her. Right now I can hear your pen running out of ink. Okay. This I don't need because it's a dupe. This is about weight. Let's see, stroke, heart disease, obesity, blood pressure, high blood pressure, diabetes, risks, Mid-Hudson Vegetarian Society, and the Dutchess County Department of Health. Okay. There were about 50 people at that dinner. All right, so that's one bulletin. Here's another one right here named 8 pounds of cute little fur. She's a good kitty. She hardly, right there she squeaked, but she hardly ever says anything. She hardly ever meows. And she's a vegetarian kitty, and she's not vegan though. She eats cheese. Now, what do you think of this? Galatians, chapter 5, 19 to 26.
there's one thing in here. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heretics, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like. And those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. So let's pray for all the people who do that they cease doing that. You want to do that? We pray for them. They cease doing that, and that they know the oneness of God and the happiness of God, and that they be whole and happy and healthy, and that they be clean, and all their present blessings continue. We don't want to give up those. And then the last, here's a good phrase. Live in the Spirit. Let us also walk in the Spirit. That's good. Stay with God all the time. When you're walking around doing things with your hands, like playing string game with you, Tom, you count pure thoughts. And you list your blessings. Oh, so many blessings. And you pray for people. I got a long prayer list this week, folks. Esther and Rudy and her daughter and her granddaughter and Shlomo and Jim Cahagan, who can't breathe some of the time. What a life that is. So he'd be happy, whole, and healthy. And Tracy Dawn Folsom, Audette, and Ralph Arnold Folsom Jr., and Pat McDermott and George McDermott and Mary Moore and her husband, who keeps doing mean things to her, and the two children. We pray for them to be happy, whole, and healthy, and all their present blessings continue. Joan, Annabella, Houston, Claus, we pray for them. We pray for John Tata, Charles Dolan, James Dolan, Cablevision, Mac Budill, Thomas Gardner, Charles Forma, Christine Savarino, Miles Rich, John Sherwood, Cecilia Mastervilling, all of those Cablevision people who are injuring public access and injuring public access producers. We pray for all of them to have the oneness and joy of being with God, and the greatness and the health and the happiness and the wealth and the success. We pray for them to have it all, and yet all their present blessings continue. Pray for Clavert, a judge in Milwaukee. Pray for Aniello, the clerk in the 7th Circuit, Chicago. Praise for Norval. Pray for Norval. Pray for Pearsall, and pray for Flom. These are all judges who are ruining the United States of America. And all their present blessings continue. That's fun to pray for people. Now, here was something over here. This is written by David Roper, and it's Our Daily Bread, RBC Ministries. They're on the radio a lot. We can do very little about the unfaithfulness of others, but we can do a lot about our faithfulness to others. When we make a promise, we must keep it. When we tell someone we will pray for them, we need to follow through and do it. When we proclaim our loyalty and love for others, we can do little things that show them we mean it. So go back to the middle of the paragraph. When we make a promise, we must keep it. That applies to you, Deborah Eacock. It's an expensive lesson. I sent her a renewal form, and I said, you sign this renewal form, even though I don't need it because I have another signer in Peekskill. I said, you sign this renewal form and we'll drop the litigation. Okie dokie. The hymn that goes with that is, and I can't sing it, it's too high and it's too low, but it's something like, I would be true, for there are those who trust me. I would be pure, for there are those who care. I would be brave, for there is much to suffer. I would be strong, for there is much to bear. I would be strong, for there is much to bear. It was written by a congregational minister in New England. Franklin is the one who can sing that, and Franklin was all of those things. He was true, he was pure, he was trustworthy, and he was strong. He was really, and he had a good voice. He had a sweet voice. Okie dokie, I think we've covered it, right? We've read our Bible, we've discussed it, we've thought about it, we've sung our hymn, and we've done the prayer. Richard Wolfley, W-O-E-L-F-L-E. During the blackout, he walked 35 flights with the dog that was 10 years old during the blackout in August. And he got up to his friend's penthouse, and which was, well, let's say 30 stories high, and he could see the building next door, which was 20 stories high, and the roof was on fire. So he went down all those stairs and he told the people. And then the people says, no, the fire company was here and they put out the fire. Richard says, but it's burning on the roof. So they came back in 35 minutes and they put it out. That was the blackout of August 2003, right? So Richard Wolfe, you wanted a 15-second or 30-second promo for Chat with Glendora on the internet. I don't know what it's all about, but here's your promo. This is the Happy Web. Anytime you want to be happy, tune in to Chat with Glendora, www.chatwithglendora.com. She will show you how you can get everything you want in life. All the wealth, health, peace, joy, power, anything you want, and as much of it as you want. Glendora will show you how to start Glendora will show you how to stop paying money for the bad and passing up the good, which is free. Amazing thing that we do. She will tell you jokes that will make you laugh, and she will show you how to rejoice about something every 15 minutes. We made it, 9:30. What are we going to rejoice about? That we're here together this morning, thinking about good things, and doing good things, and doing things that make us all happy. You think it's funny I'm wearing these red gloves? Well, it isn't. It might be 5 degrees now. And how to rejoice about something every 15 minutes. A Chat with Glendora is the happiness show. And she will pray for you and everybody with you. I pray certainly for the Cacciola family. Such a terrible situation. I pray for Joseph. I pray for Mary Ann. I pray for all of the lawyers that are involved in this, all of the insurance companies. I pray for the courts that are involved in this. It's nasty, dirty, ugly, and they are consumed by it. So pray for a complete turnaround, that they will be one with God, where they will find their happiness and their joy and their productivity. Right, folks? This is my highlights log, highlights of the year 2005. Now, I want
Now let's hear from some lads from Scotland, the Proclaimers. I will walk 5,000 miles.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you. And if I haver, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering to you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm walking, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you. And when the money comes in for the work I do, I'll pass almost every penny on to you. When I come home, oh, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home to you. And if I broke, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's going over you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm lonely, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's lonely without you. And when I'm dreaming, well, I know I'm gonna dream about the times when I'm with you. When I go out, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And when I come home, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home with you. I'm gonna be the man who's coming home with you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door.
Now let's hear from the funniest man.
It's good. I mean, the message is certainly good. It is certainly free speech. A lot of the free speech is a talk, but at least 40% of the free speech are the words on the screen. So these are called, it's put out by the Humane Society of the United States, I do believe, or is it National Wildlife? They're both cool. It's World Wildlife Fund. This one. It always has panda bear. Okay, let's see if I can show these to you in the right light. How are we doing? .com is watching the birds eat. The birds have gone through 9 loaves of bread this week. Those are the vegetarians that we are descended from. Cute. Such a great design. Black and white. Black ears, black eyes. Look at this. Thank you, National Wildlife. I send you $4 every time I can. Every time you write me. Look at this. Two things. Great creations by God. And 2, friendship. Look like Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. Have we gone through every month yet? What month had 28 days? They all do. You know, God doesn't have to make this world so beautiful, right? Why does God do that? He doesn't have to do this beautiful. Might be one more. The pages were affectionate. They were stuck to each other. Let me just make sure. Yeah. This one. Look at this. Isn't that something? Look at that something. Isn't that? Is that 12? Okay. Where's your jokes? And this is going to end this cycle, 2-week cycle. Chat with Glendora. Then we'll put this on title, or put titles on this, and then we'll start making the dubs. We'll make about 50, 60 dubs. That might take until midnight too. Alrighty. Jimmy, they're not going to make bananas any longer. Bobby, why not? They're long enough now. Ed, you see that man across the street? Yeah? I owe to him more than anybody else in the whole world. Really? Who is he? My landlord. Bill had a new girlfriend. He was trying to impress her, and she says, "What does your father do?" And Bill says, "He's an exporter." And she says, "Oh, And then Bill's friend said, yeah, he used to work for Amtrak. Mama and Daddy, how come we got a flat tire? Little Billy in the back seat. You said there was a fork in the road back there. John is taking up painting professionally. Really? Have you sold anything? Yeah. My TV set, my car, and my watch. This very stuffy person, arrogant, officious, overbearing person was walking around an art museum, an art exhibit, and he stood before one object, and he says, I suppose this hideous monstrosity is what you call modern art? His friend says, no, it's what you call a mirror. Now, the steward of the ship was trying to assuage the passengers who were worried about the ship sinking, and so the steward said in encouragement, I know that we are surrounded by water, but we are only 2 miles from land. Straight down. You remind me of Dan Smith. I'm not a thing like Dan Smith. Oh, yes, you are. You both owe me $10. Why are you so polite, young man? Why are you so courteous? Well, it was my father. When I was a little boy and I was polite, he would give me a penny and he would pat me on the head. And by the time I was 16 years old, I had $17 and a flat head. Man in the haberdashery store. May I please try on that navy blue suit in the window? And the clerk says, no, you will have to use the dressing room. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life, and it's brought to you by... Okay, folks, I'll see you after 12 hours of editing. Keep the courage flaming. Rejoice every 15 minutes. The next 15 minutes is up at 9:45. What are we going to rejoice about? The snow. It's beautiful. And certainly the blue sky, the azure blue sky. That's such a pretty blue. And what else are we going to rejoice about? Warm weather is coming. Okay? The first month of winter is over. And as they say down Maine, how they get themselves through the winter, there's a blue jay just picked up a corn chip. Oh, and let me just tell you, we've had 6 great big crows. Aren't they beautiful birds? They're so big. As they say down Maine, January's half over, February's a short month, and in March the sun rides high. That's how you get through the winter. Realize what a wonderful creature you are, and how carefully you are made, and realize that there's a job out there for you to do that nobody else can do the way you can do it. Take care. Well, we were renting the property, and they had some beautiful old lilac trees and a beautiful snowball tree. And one night, Mario Vasquez had this saw, and he just brutalized those beautiful lilac trees and the snowball tree, and he just raised havoc with it. It was a terrible, terrible butchery of the greenery, and it was up around our parking space. And we objected to it, and we videotaped it. And then a couple of months later, we had very carefully, we'd also cleaned up the yard while they were in Florida, and we took out stuff that had been piled behind the garage, like pieces of tile from the bathroom that had been remodeled, and all kinds of other just junk. It was just terrible. And we cleaned that all up, and we took all the stones out that had been thrown away, and we put the stones nicely all the way around the edge of the parking area, and it really looked nice. And the soil, and we got down to the soil and took all this terrible stuff away, parts of walls and wallboard and plaster. And so we got it all cleaned up, and the soil was nice and rich and black. And because we got it down to the soil and took away all of the debris, the plants started to grow very robustly, and they were beautiful. They were beautiful vines. And they had pretty blossoms. And then one night, Mario Vasquez came over and cut down all of those. And we protested on that. And Larry Gallicano said, I'm going to come over there and smack you on the head. I have this all on videotape. And he said it twice. I'm coming over there and I'm going to smack you on the head. So that was another cause of action against him. And the police came that night. So as a result of that, of interfering with our right to have and to hold in peace and to enjoy, I deducted $200 from the September rent, because this butchery of the greenery had happened the second time in August. And I deducted $200 from the rent. And they took the check and they deposited it. And then when October came, I made a motion to Judge Nicolai to pay the $1,050 October rent to the court. And Judge Nicolai never made his decision until way after October, into November 4th. And that's when Judge Nicolai made his decision that we didn't have personal jurisdiction over the defendants, which is, you know, is nothing but an excuse and a runaway, because Judge Nicolai never dealt with the issues. It was as if he had never read the paper. As if he'd never read all of the papers, all of this. You know, that he'd never paid any attention to it at all. All these causes of action and all this record from the building department and everything else. So he just took the easy way out and said that there wasn't any personal jurisdiction, and that there was no cause of action. The personal jurisdiction we could have dealt with. We could have served them personally. But the no cause of action, that's, they go to school, law school for 3 years. They don't have to learn a thing. All they have to learn to do is state CPLR 3211-7, no cause of action, and dismiss the motion on that basis. So that's what Judge Nicolai did, and his decision was very, very sloppy and very sort of childish and immature. I don't know if it's even worth reading to you. So I had 30 days to appeal that, and you can bet your life I did. I appealed it on the first day of December. Here's the notice of appeal. And I'll read you some of my brief on that. All of these papers, this would be Francis A. Nicolai, the Justice of the Supreme Court. I sent him all of these papers. Okay? You know what they return you? They return you 2 itty-bitty tiny pages of decision. Isn't that something? See, there's one page, and here's the second page. Second page. And here's the third page, which is only his signature. That's all there is on the third page. Listen to what he says. The motion for default judgment is denied and the cross motion is granted. The complaint is dismissed for failure to state a cause of action as well as for lack of personal jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction. He never dealt with the issue, which was breach of warranty of habitability. This was the issue. This is what all these papers were about. But he probably didn't read them, nor did his law clerk. That's the way it is in Westchester County Supreme Court. You never have a feeling at all that your papers are read, or that your arguments are read, or that you're understood. And always the decisions deal with the periphery. always with the perimeter, never with the issue of the lawsuit itself. And in this case, it was breach of warranty of habitability. Now, the second part of an appeal, the first part I just showed you, that was a record on appeal. That's all of the papers and everything that happened in the court. And the second part is the appellant's brief. I am the appellant, and this is a brief, and you have to say what your argument is. Point 1, the judge was wrong in stating there was no cause of action. Point 2, the judge did not decide the case on its merits. Point 3, the case was decided without seeing and hearing the evidence, 5 hours of videotapes. Point 4, there was nothing wrong with the service. See how the points are listed? Point 5, judge did not make the decision, the law clerk did. Point 6, law clerk was prejudiced against Glendora. Point 7, court's work was sloppy and insult to the Empire State. Point 8, Glendora is pro se, judge is pro lawyer. Point 9, this court does not stand up for justice. Point 10, monolithic slowness. It took him so long to make that decision, at least 60 days. 60 days is what he is allowed, and he made it under the deadline. Decision on the October 1st rent did not come until November. I made a motion to pay the October rent of $1,050 to the court instead of paying it to the landlord. And he didn't make a decision on that until after October was over. The court is obtuse about other defendants. The adjudication is not worth $95,000 a year. That's what a justice of the Supreme Court gets paid. And the plaintiff wants her $245 back. That's what it cost me to file the lawsuit in the Westchester County Supreme Court, $245. And then it cost me $250 to file this appeal. And I'll just show you the brief. It's only 29 pages, and I think you're allowed 50 pages. Statement. Plaintiff appellant Glendora appeals to this court from 2 orders and from each and every part thereof, denying the motion of plaintiff appellant to pay the October rent to the lower court and denying plaintiff appellant's motion for a default judgment and granting defendant respondent's cross motion to dismiss plaintiff appellant's complaint. Questions involved. How can a judge and his law clerk say there is no cause of action when the plaintiff lists over 60 causes of action over 100 pages? The court below did. 2, isn't a judge supposed to deal with the heart of the matter, not exclusively with the perimeter? The court below did this. 3, isn't a judge supposed to consider the evidence, seeing and hearing 5 hours of videotape? The court below did not. 4, does a judge convince you there is something wrong with the service? He does not convince the plaintiff. 5, isn't a plaintiff, after paying $240 for an index number and judicial intervention, entitled to the judge making the decision, not the law clerk? 6, is it right for a law clerk to construct her decision on a platform of prejudice? This law clerk did. 7, should a judge law clerk send out sloppy papers and insult to the Empire State? Is it right for a judge to be anti-pro se and pro-liar? Shouldn't a court stand up for justice? Should a court in the Empire State cause a blot on the escutcheon with monolithic slowness? Should not a decision on paying the October rent be handed down before October 1st instead of November? Should a judge be obtuse as to plaintiff's reasons for naming defendants? Isn't a plaintiff entitled to performance commensurate with $95,000 a year of taxpayers' money? To say there was no cause of action is absurd. There were over 60 causes of action. Glendora provided Judge Nicolai with 100 pages of causes of action. He ignored every one of them. Here there are monstrous violations of the real property law, and they are ignored entirely. All the talk is about service. I repeat, service is being used as an excuse to deny and dismiss. Glendora submits 100 pages of blood, sweat, and tears, and Judge Nicolai returns under 5 pages of rubber-stamped drivel. You have to be deaf, dumb, and blind not to see 60 causes of action. When a plaintiff lists over 60 injuries done to her and a judge and a law clerk close their eyes to her, things are at a new nadir. The landlord did not cure these violations in all the time Nicolai took to sign that decision. There was no good faith on the part of Lydia Gallicano at all. The old violations continued. New violations reared their ugly heads. The real issues are breach of warranty of habitability, violation of a tenant's right to have, hold, and enjoy in peace. Cure these violations in all the time Nicolai took to sign that decision. There was no good faith on the part of Lydia Gallicano at all. The old violations continued, new violations reared their ugly heads. The real issues are breach of warranty of habitability, violation of tenants' right to have, hold, and enjoy in peace, flagrant and substantial changes in the terms of the tenancy, harassment and retaliation, all violations of the real property law. But Berg, who is Nikolai's law clerk, Thomasina Berg, and Nikolai never deal with these. It is too hard for them. Failure to state a cause of action, they say. Glendora stated 60 causes of action. Berg Nikolai insult plaintiff by calling her carefully kept chronicle of the wrongs done her by Lydia Gallicano et al., quote, rambling and incoherent. Just look at the decision they wrote for rambling and incoherent. They should be ashamed to admit they do not understand the offenses of the other 5 defendants upon Glendora. This is because they did not do their homework and study what Glendora chronicled for them. Chronicle. They spell C-H-R-O-N-I-C-A-L. That's a comical way to spell chronicle, C-H-R-O-N-I-C-L-E. Berg Nikolai never focused on the facts of the case: breach of warranty of habitability, violation of the right to have, hold, enjoy in peace, retaliation, substantial change in the terms of the tenancy, violations of the building code of White Plains. How could any judge or any law clerk miss this? To spend all the time and effort Glendora did to keep the court informed and up to date and have it come to this is upsetting and unfair. The massive wrongs of this landlord have been allowed to go unpunished. How much bigger would they have to be to have Judge Nikolai and Thomasina Berg attend? Plaintiff gives him 60 reasons why the rent should be paid to the court, and all he writes about is 3 days of service. The judge did not decide the case on its merits. He did not decide the case on its merits, but instead rambled on about service. This case was not decided on its merits. This case has ponderous merits, all ignored by Judge Nikolai. He doesn't deal with the inside of the case, just the outside of the case, the periphery. It is inadequate. Supreme Court justices should have higher standards than this. This plaintiff should be praised for staying on top of this case, sending out a log every week delineating repeat offenses, new offenses, and no correction of old offenses. Instead, Berg slides in a comment that is flipped, undignified, and unbecoming. The decision is dehumanized. So after the appellant sends in the appellant's brief, then the other side has 10 days to answer to the appellant's brief. And this is the son-in-law lawyer's respondent's brief. Objection to preliminary statement. This is the appellant's reply brief, and that's the end of it. First the appellant sends in the brief, and then the other side sends in the respondent's brief, and then the appellant has 10 days to answer the respondent's brief. Objection to preliminary statement. Son-in-law lawyer John Ornberger tries to gloss over the law that his mother and father-in-law failed to answer the summons with notice within 20 days. Did not immediately respond, he puts it. John Ornberger very often tries to twist the facts and very often does not tell the truth. The next instance of this is the careless statement that the appellant did not have a cause of action. Appellant had over 60 causes of action. The third instance of glossing is personal jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction is not required. Glendora followed CPLR 2103. She will tell you more about that later.